It's another Saturday. It may be cold outside, but we have got a scorcher for you today. This is the Football Natter. So Harry, what is up for discussion this week?
So we're going to be discussing Southampton's new manager and the impact that's going to have, our idea on who should win the Player and Manager of the Month, the Ballon D'or results, and finally, previews for this upcoming Premier League game week.
Okay, so we'll start with Southampton, as you've just wonderfully introduced. So on Thursday, they appointed Ralph Hasenhüttl.
Yeah.
Hasenhüttl. Or from now on, Wreck-It Ralph, just because it's easier to say.
Yep.
So Wreck-It Ralph was appointed on Thursday, and what do you kind of believe he's going to bring to Southampton? Is it going to be a fresh idea in terms of tactics? Do you think we're going to see any additions in January?
Yeah, so obviously he's the former Leipzig manager. And I was looking into that a little bit, and he is a very, very intense pressing style in defence. And what he'd do is whenever he'd get the ball with his team, he'd put a massive emphasis on counter-attacking. We've seen that work in the Premier League before. However, they only had 75% passing accuracy when they came second place in the Bundesliga, which is very low to be fair. But that's because they were playing so many lofted through balls or just normal through balls to Timo Werner. And we know his pace, we know his ability, we know he's a clinical finisher. And I do not think Southampton have anyone with that kind of quality. And I don't think maybe they even have the midfielders to provide those balls. So January is going to be absolutely crucial if his style of play is going to be effective at Southampton.
Well, you talked about like playing balls through to Timo Werner, and I think with the kind of the squad that Southampton have already got, they don't have anybody insanely quick. I mean, they've got Elianusi, he's all right off the mark. They've got Nathan Redmond, obviously, he's quite quick. But in terms of like a central striker who can kind of make runs across the centre-back and get him behind, I mean, Charlie Austin isn't quick. Danny Ings isn't as quick as he used to be. You know, who else have you got? Gabbiadini, you know, he's just not that good in general. So it is going to be interesting to see if we do see any additions in January. I think one player which might see a bit of a transformation with is James Ward-Prowse, because it's going to be interesting to see how Ralph kind of approaches the way that where he's going to place him, because we saw with Mark Hughes, he often played out wide, you know, with his quality, putting his quality balls in from the wing, but we might see him now maybe moved into a more central role and play a bit like Forsberg was used under Ralph at Leipzig. And then I think we're going to see a new kind of role from the fullbacks, and a lot more attacking. So that, you know, we're going to be relying on Bertrand and Cedric to kind of get up and down the wings and kind of do that for very much of the game. You said that they'd only had 75% passing accuracy at Leipzig. It's going to take a hell of a lot of the work to be able to get Southampton, because, you know, they're a Premier League side. They have got quality, but when you look at the quality Leipzig had with Keita, Forsberg, you know, that isn't replicated, you know, player for player at Southampton at the minute. So January, like you say, is going to be huge for them. And you never know, we might see an old player from Leipzig come to Southampton, you know, immediately. I mean, they're not going to bring Werner in, but Poulsen, who's the other striker at Leipzig, who scored a decent amount of goals, and is very similar to Werner in the way he plays, kind of getting behind. He could be key and influential because he's quick and he's also 6'4", I believe. So he's going to provide kind of two threats. And in the Premier League, if you're big, you're physical, and you can head the ball, you've got a very good chance of getting a good goal return, and that could well save Southampton from relegation.
And yeah, the truth is that it's just about finding that balance between pace and clinical finishing, because you could even argue it's been quite harsh on Mark Hughes to get sacked, because the group of players they have at the moment aren't brilliant, are they? Let's be honest, they sold Dusan Tadic for £10 million. Like, that's not great. He was, in my opinion, their best player. And you touched on James Ward-Prowse. Well, we've seen him play at almost like defensive midfield or central midfield and even out wide, as you mentioned. And I think his best role is in that central midfield spot. I think you'd probably agree, where he can play those balls, where he can hold it together in the midfield. And his role is certainly going to have to change under Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, I think January's going to be crucial. I can't see them winning a great deal of games going into the new year. So who do we think is going to be our player? Is it going to be Poulsen? I think, you know, the perfect player that comes to mind for me would be someone like Daniel Sturridge. Although, he's having a bit of a career revitalisation at the moment, isn't he? At Liverpool, he's in decent form for them. So I don't know if that would be a bit of a long shot, but then there's also Tammy Abraham, who we know has good pace, and he's a great finisher. Scored 4 goals the other day, of course. So it will just be interesting to see where that goes.
I love how you kind of thought of a perfect player and thought of Daniel Sturridge.
For them? Realistic.
Yeah. So you think Daniel Sturridge, fair enough. Like I say, he's in good form. He scored a very good goal against Chelsea the other month. Had a very decent performance against Burnley the other night when Liverpool won 2-1. But Cardiff is Southampton's next game. Do we think that that's going to be a chance for Ralph to show off this kind of new start? I mean, it's going to take granted, it's going to take a long while for them to have this style integrated and perfected. But do you think we might start to see signs? Now he's had a few training sessions under him. I think the Tottenham game came way too quickly. He didn't really pick his team. It was more of the assistant manager's team. So I think over the next few weeks, we are very much going to start to see this style of play come in. So what do you think their chances are against Cardiff?
I've got to say quite high. You see, the problem was with Southampton, 13 goals in 15 games. That is a shocking return for a team that were once challenging to get into the Europa League spot. It's a good chance, though, because Cardiff, as we've seen this season, they have been slightly inconsistent. We thought they'd struggle, and to be honest, they're still exceeding expectations. I believe 16th place in the Premier League. But still, Southampton, if they come out and they play in this new style and they manage to do it effectively, maybe grab a goal early and build on that, it could be a really good game for them, to be honest. It's just about, as you said, getting the right team together. It will take Wreck-It Ralph some time to choose that team, but it could be a good early start for him. What do you think?
Well, you got to say, Cardiff are in very good form at the minute. Neil Warnock, obviously, 70th birthday on Saturday.
Happy birthday.
We said that last week, Harry. Keep up.
Oh.
I mean, Hoylett, what a screamer that was.
That's good.
Absolute screamer. Nobody thought Cardiff would win. That was incredible. Especially against Wolves as well, who went and beat Chelsea the other day. That is, a great turnaround on Wolves' part to beat Chelsea.
Yes.
But, that's the greatness of the Premier League. You go and lose to Cardiff one week, and a few days later you go and beat Chelsea. So maybe Cardiff will get a result against Southampton. Like I said, this whole new kind of tactic change is very new for all the Southampton players. They're going to have the ability to play pressing football, but the whole kind of pressing football and why it's sometimes dangerous is if you don't play it right, you kind of overpress and then you leave too many gaps in behind and you can get split apart with one easy through ball. So they're going to have to play it right, and it's going to take quite a few weeks for them to get that right. But once it clicks, I reckon they're going to be some force. We saw how well he kind of used his resources at Leipzig to get them second in the Bundesliga, top for very much most of the season. So, arguably they massively overachieved that season. Yes, we all know that they'd pumped money into it, but they didn't have the best players. They just had a few key players, which, if Ralph can bring in a couple in January, that could be key to them, not just for this season, keeping them up, but for next season. And, he's going to hope to be there for a good 3-4 years and kind of build on that. Like you say, Southampton challenging for Europa League, in the Europa League not too long ago. We all saw the rise many seasons ago when they had Ricky Lambert and Adam Lallana and Klein in incredible form. So maybe we are going to see that replicated again in the next few years. Maybe Southampton finally are on their way back from this little kind of dip they've had in the Premier League, where they're just scraping to survive. And it's good to see, because Southampton overall have got a good philosophy as a football club. Bringing through young players. Josh Sims we've seen a couple of years ago, Lloyd Isgrove, plenty of young players that they bring in. So it's going to be interesting to see how the impact that Ralph is going to have on the young players coming through. So it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice to see how Southampton now progress under arguably a better manager than Mark Hughes. Some say Mark Hughes' dismissal is wrong because he was doing the best he could with the squad he had. But I think if you're going to, I said this a couple of weeks ago about Fulham bringing in Ranieri. If you want to bring in quality players, you've got to be in quite a secure position in January, because you're not going to be able to attract the top players if there's a risk of them playing in the lower league 6 months down the line. This is a chance for Southampton to build some momentum, build some speed, and become a much more kind of exciting prospect to join in January transfer window for a top class player, which at the end of the day is going to make a massive amount of difference and only add to the quality of the squad.
For me, they have got a couple of players in there who are quite good quality. I've said before, I really rate Mario Lemina. He came in from Juventus, and he's a great player. And I think he's capable of playing higher up than Southampton, actually. You know, you're speaking about them returning to those glory days of seventh place. You remember when they were second at Christmas? That was incredible. It's going to take a while. I think it will take a few transfer windows if everything goes to plan, that is. Because, as I said, his tactics don't really fit very well with the current set of players. And if they don't bring in the right players, as we saw with the summer window, then it could be a massive worry for Southampton. Their struggles could continue. It's all in the balance, and it's going to be exciting to see how this unfolds.
What a fantastic end that was. Let's move on. So, after Southampton, we have decided to talk about our feelings and our thoughts on the nominations for Manager and Player of the Month for November. So, the nominations for Manager of the Month are Rafa Benitez, Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Pochettino, Marco Silva, and David Wagner. Who would have thought
we love you, David.
that Huddersfield manager would be up for Player of the Month? But he's had a good month. 2 wins and 1 draw. Very good for Huddersfield. Marco Silva's also got 2 wins and 1 draw, as has Klopp. But Benitez, Guardiola, and Pochettino, all with 3 wins from 3. Who do you think is going to win Manager of the Month? Because it's going to be a tough one.
Well, despite a great turnaround from Wagner, you know how much I love the man. And great performances from Everton under Silva. I think they're starting to really establish themselves, and maybe they'll go on to get that 6th spot. For me, it has to be Guardiola. And that's quite simple. 3 games, 6-1 against Southampton, great win. 3-1 against rivals Man United, that was an incredible performance. And finally, they topped it off with a 4-0 away win against West Ham. Look, we all know how much money gets pumped into that club. But Guardiola's style is almost unmatched in world football, and I think that he's been getting them playing at their peak. City are doing so well at the moment, and November was an excellent month for them. I think it wouldn't be wrong to give it to someone like, Wagner or Silva, but Guardiola for me this month, he deserves to win it. We're so used to them now that we don't almost give him enough credit, because it's just like, oh yeah, we all know how good he is, let's give it to someone else. But he really deserves recognition for the incredible attacking style he's had City playing in the month of November. So who would be your pick?
Well, I think, lurking in the shadows, it's Rafa Benitez, which, at the end of the day, Newcastle had an awful start to the season, bottom of the league, tipped for relegation, but in November, 3 wins from 3, 9 points, obviously lost to West Ham, but 9 points out of 12, at the last 4 games, is incredible for that turnaround, and I think, Newcastle fans have had great news this week with Mike Ashley saying the club is being close to being sold more than it ever has before. So that's great news for the Toon Army. And, Rafa Benitez, we all knew he has the quality in him as a manager. There's a reason he's managed Chelsea. There's a reason he's managed Real Madrid, because he's a quality manager. And he's doing the very best he can with the limited budget Mike Ashley has put on him at Newcastle. He's still got very much a lot of the squad that was with him in the Championship. But he brought in, last season the likes of Dubravka did you see the save he made against Everton? Absolutely incredible. 2 yards out and he manages to clear the ball away off the line. Incredible stuff. So he has brought in some very key players. Maybe there's a slight doubt that he shouldn't have brought in Rondon instead of swap Gale. But he scored a great goal against Everton, Rondon. He's starting to kind of fit in. Joselu seems to be a big favourite of Rafa Benitez, and he seems to, be starting to perform. Jamal Lascelles linked with top clubs last season for a while. The rumours are going to go around again in January. Whether they're going to hold on to him, I'm going to say they probably will, because, as club captain of Newcastle, he's going to feel he kind of owes something very much to the Newcastle fans. Jonjo Shelvey, who, he's played well this season. Maybe we thought that he'd kind of go on to the next level after his great end to the last season, with him being linked to going to the World Cup. We all kind of thought this season he'd really kick on. He's kind of taken his foot off the pedal a little bit, and he's kind of stayed at that consistent level. So I think if he can go to one step higher, again, he's very much going to be a big driving force in Newcastle, climbing up the table again. But it's great to see. I think he deserves the recognition for the way he's turned Newcastle around. It was a great month for November for Rafa Benitez, and that's why I think he should win it. Are you in agree? Or do you still think Guardiola?
I mean, yeah, I didn't talk about Newcastle, obviously, because I thought their fixtures weren't particularly as hard as the other teams I discussed. But regardless, you have to say Benitez has done a great job. I quite like Newcastle as a club, and I do feel quite sorry for the fans, and I feel sorry for Benitez because obviously the ownership isn't the best for them. But he really is doing the best he can. I don't think you can criticise a manager, but what you can do is praise him for doing an excellent job right now. You've talked about Lascelles. We know how good he is in defence, and there's some real talent in that team. Even Kennedy on loan, Atsu on his day can be a good player. And it's just looking for that consistency now in Newcastle. That's 3 games on the bounce that they've won, but December has been a bit different. They obviously lost at home 3-0 to West Ham, and they got the draw against Everton, which was quite a good result. It's just now about continuing the good form and seeing where they go. I would say if he wins, that's fair enough. I would still choose Guardiola personally. Let's just see who wins it.
So what about the people we're writing up then? We're writing off, and not including. What about Klopp, Pochettino? What do you think to them? Klopp's got 2 wins and a draw. Pochettino with 3 wins. Tottenham they bounced back well against Southampton after the loss to Arsenal in the derby. A rather thrashing by Arsenal in the derby, really. What a turnaround from Unai Emery's men. So do you think Klopp should win it? Because at the minute, they are on the heels of Manchester City, 2 points behind them in the league. They are waiting for them to slip up. And with Chelsea, Manchester City this weekend, we're going to go into the previews a lot later on. That's going to be a very interesting game because Liverpool have got Bournemouth away, another team in good form, but they're going to be hoping that they can beat Bournemouth and Chelsea can produce something to put Liverpool top of the league. Do you think Klopp deserves it? Any chance of winning it? Do you think he's got a chance of winning it, or is he just in there for the sake of it?
I don't think he should win it, to be honest, because I'm comparing him against Guardiola. Do you know what I mean? They are the top dogs, and I think City are better. I've said it before. I think City are better than Liverpool. I think that they have a much better style of play than Liverpool. Although I've got to say, Liverpool's defence is very impressive this season. And Alisson, he's been playing out of his skin in goal. Yeah, he had a good month in November, no doubt. The draw was against Arsenal, I think. So you can't really pick up on that too much. But it's been good for him. But I think Guardiola's been better, and I think you could even give it to someone like Benitez or Wagner in front of him. As for Pochettino, obviously 3 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses, and great win against Chelsea. But for me personally, when I've been watching them play, I don't think that the actual quality during the game is high enough. I just feel like they could Tottenham can play so much better. We've seen it in past seasons. I don't really know what's happened, but this season, still 3rd place, but the style of play hasn't been good enough for me, and that's why I don't think they're going to do something like challenge for the title, and that's why I think that Liverpool and City are so much further ahead. So that's why I couldn't choose Pochettino, but if he really gets that style of play right, then maybe it will be him next month.
Okay, so we will see next week who won the Manager of the Month. On to Player of the Month. The players nominated are Felipe Anderson, Lucas Digne, Andrew Robertson, Leroy Sane, David Silva, Moussa Sissoko, and Raheem Sterling. Who is your pick to win it?
So there are some good players in there. Definitely Sterling had a great time, and even Digne has been quite underrated left back, I think. I've just criticised Tottenham for not having a correct style of play, but one man has really stood out, and he is revitalised in his career. You know who it is. It's Moussa Sissoko. Yeah,
£30 million flop.
He's definitely not. So obviously he had a really tough start at Tottenham, but he's really starting to fill those boots. He's a great all-rounder. In his performances, he's shown his physical presence on the pitch. Great bursts forward. He's been clinical in the win against Chelsea. He's been playing brilliantly. He's like a new player under Mauricio Pochettino this season. He's done brilliantly. And, what really symbolised that was his break forward against Inter in the Champions League, assisting Christian Eriksen. That is the type of player we all want him to be, and that is all we need him to be. Honestly, at Tottenham, that is where he's best suited in that kind of central midfield role when he's playing that very physical kind of football. And I think November kind of symbolised prime Moussa Sissoko. I think that if he can carry on this form for the rest of the season, then everyone's going to take him much more seriously. People have been calling him a joke for a long time, but I think he's really starting to put all the doubters to rest, and he has had a great month, and he deserves it.
Harry, I know you're passionate about Musa Sissoko, but can you watch your arms? I don't really want to get hit in the face. So you think Musa Sissoko? I think you're wrong. I think you've got to look at David Silva. You know, I didn't put Guardiola up for Manager of the Month award, but David Silva has been so influential. He's scored in each of their 3 games in November. He's always vital to the way that he plays. He's so supportive in his role of... He's very much, not necessarily box to box, but offensively and kind of the way he kind of sees the game. It's almost like it's slow motion. It's very much like Kevin De Bruyne, and he is the key piece of the puzzle to the way Manchester City play. And that's why he's been such a regular starter of this season, only coming off the bench once. Again, you look at the other City players in there. Sane and Sterling both had very good runs. You know, Sterling's in his prime, like a ribeye steak. He scored a few. Sane's played very well. But maybe we are kind of leaving out Lucas Digne, and that's unfair that we're leaving out Lucas Digne. What do you make of his performances this month?
I did say earlier, I think he's been quite underrated, Digne. He makes good runs forward, but he's also good at tracking back. And he's just crucial to their success in defence. You know, they brought in Mina also from Barcelona. And those two have been really important for Everton as they're starting to establish themselves in that 6th position. But Digne in particular, he's just been a great all-rounder, to be honest. I think that he's really starting to suit the style that Marco Silva is showing, and he's also kind of personified their success. So you really could give it to him. And as for David Silva, I can't deny he's an incredible player. In fact, he's 32 years of age, but he's still maybe at his prime, I would say. I thought last season he was incredible, even though he missed parts of it. This season, he carried that on. To be honest, I think it was 3 goals in 3 games for him. He scored in each one, including against Man United. And you really couldn't discount him from this. I don't know who's going to win this one. I think it's going to be really tight between... Personally, I think it will be tight between David Silva and Sterling. But if it was up to me, I'd give it to Musa Sissoko. Because if you look at the amount of improvement as well, and what I talked about earlier, I think that he's deserving. But we'll wait and see.
So you think Sissoko, I think David Silva. Are we writing off Andrew Robinson and Felipe Anderson completely?
Yeah.
Because I think if we just focus on Robertson a second, I think not only have we seen the brilliant attacking play that he brings to Liverpool, but he's very much made a bigger effort and a bigger contribution defensively, which is why they've conceded so fewer goals and so fewer stupid goals that they conceded last season when we saw Lovren slipping about. You know, you've got Van Dijk, Alisson, Robertson, and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Joe Gomez. If he's in there, that just adds... They are so strong defensively. Alexander-Arnold seems to be hitting top form, and he's only, 21, 22? Incredible. Robertson, 26, 27. You know, coming into his prime now. Van Dijk is just incredible. Joe Gomez, up-and-coming, young, hungry, in the England squad. He's got no reason not to play well. He's in absolutely incredible form. And like you said earlier, Alisson playing out of his skin. So, I think... Maybe you are writing Robertson off for his contributions defensively, and that's why Liverpool didn't lose a game in November, because he's added so much to that. Or saying that, why then wasn't Alisson nominated? Is there kind of a reason behind that, and the thinking behind nominating him for Player of the Month? What about Felipe Anderson? 2 goals in November. Yes, granted they came in the same game. West Ham had a very good win against Newcastle the other week. In November, they were very solid and they're starting to pick up points finally. What do you make of Felipe Anderson's form? Do you think he just shouldn't have a chance of winning it and he's in there, like we said with Benitez, just in there for the sake of it?
I'll be honest, I don't think Felipe Anderson should be there because West Ham haven't been incredibly impressive. I know that they've got a couple of good wins recently against Newcastle away, as you said. But the thing is that you said it yourself. I think Alisson has been great and that he deserved to be on there. Often goalkeepers are omitted from that list. And going back to Robertson, my take on it is that you've looked at teams like Arsenal. Okay, Arsenal this season, they've had their high moments, but they have had their lows. And the real reason for that is because their fullbacks don't always track back well enough. But if you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andrew Robertson, always track back. But they can burst forward so effectively, put in great balls, and really change the team, change the swing of the game. And all the defence have been strong, but him in particular has been really impressive in November. Yeah, we have discounted him slightly, but he has been really impressive. November's been a great month, I think we can all agree. We've seen some great performances, and if Andrew Robertson won it either, it'd be fine, you know. Let's wait and see who wins it.
Okay, you've heard our predictions for Player and Manager of the Month. Why don't you join the conversation? Feel free to email thefootballnatter@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts. But let's move on to the big news of the week, the Ballon d'Or results with Luka Modric winning the Ballon d'Or, ending the 10-year duopoly, if that's how you pronounce it. It's a fancy word, looks it up. So Luka Modric ending the dominance from Ronaldo and Messi winning the Ballon d'Or. He's the oldest player ever to win the Ballon d'Or, beating Cannavaro to the award at 32 years old. I mean, you've got to admit, he's had a great year of football.
He has, and he was definitely one of the best players in the World Cup, as seen with him winning the Best Player award. It's not an unfair result at all. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, the Ballon d'Or's a joke, the Ballon d'Or's a joke. Is it? Because I think Luka Modric has been incredible. And his performances have gone unnoticed. Yes, maybe he isn't scoring the most goals and maybe not even providing the most assists in the world. However, he's still putting in great performances. He does dictate the pace of the game. If he hadn't been there for Croatia, they never would have done what they did. And I don't think anyone thought Croatia would get to the World Cup final, maybe even in their history. And he went out there and he proved all the doubters wrong. And he put in the best performances we've seen in a while, honestly. We've seen his quality over the years. He was incredible for Tottenham, and then when he went over to Real Madrid, he got even better. And he's continuing it. I know they're having a difficult season at the moment. Maybe that's another reason why people are thinking it's ridiculous. But no, I think Luka Modric winning is fine. I wouldn't have chosen him particularly. By the way, what do you think about it all?
Well, he was always going to be up there. I think. See, this thing, I think we've got to the stage with kind of there's so many good players, and like not just good players, but above world class, like legendary players. You've always got Ronaldo and Messi. People act like they can just diss Messi off the list. You just need to watch him because he's still arguably the best player in the world. And I'm afraid Luka Modric is never going to come into that gap. When you think best player of the world, because of the 10-year dominance by them with the Ballon d'Or, when you think best player of the world, you automatically think of Ronaldo or Messi. You never think of somebody like Luka Modric. So he does often go unnoticed, which is why, I agree, it's nice that he has actually been complimented with this award. And he has earned it very much so. Like you say, he was clinical in Croatia's progression, Croatia's progression in the World Cup. And without him, like you said, they probably would have reached the quarterfinal stage and bowed out. Mbappe won the Copper Trophy, which is like the Young Player Award. There was the argument put by many that he should have actually skipped the Young Player Award and gone straight for the Main Player Award, and actually he should have won that. Winning at the World Cup, having an incredible season at PSG, a decent European football campaign, but like I said, like I first said, winning the World Cup, and not just winning the World Cup, but being one of the best players in the World Cup, winning the Young Player of the tournament. Again, him and Luka Modric at the top there in the World Cup tournament, now obviously winning the Ballon d'Or and Copper Trophy respectively. Do you think Mbappe had a decent shot at winning the main thing?
I don't really think he had a decent shot at actually winning it, but my view on it would definitely be different. So I've looked at Mbappe, and I watch him a lot. I watched all their World Cup games, and I've seen him plenty of times in the Champions League, and I watched him even when he was at Monaco, and I've watched how he's coming on as a player. And for me, he's in the top 5 best players in the world. I'm putting it out there. That's my opinion on it. And he's shown unbelievable ability. Unlike a lot of players that we've even ever seen. On the ball, he's an incredible player. At the World Cup, he was vital to their win. He scored 4 goals in 6 games. That's insane. He scored 27 times in 39 appearances since the World Cup. So he's shown great consistency. And a lot of the time, he plays at more of like a right wing or maybe a right attacking midfielder kind of role. So he's playing really well there. And I think Mbappe, he's definitely going to win it. Look at the coming years. A lot of players are getting older around him, like Ronaldo, Modric, Messi. They're all getting older. No one's getting younger. And I think Mbappe is that young player who could even dominate for the next coming years. You've got to wait and see. I had a massive grievance with this. Mohamed Salah, he didn't get mentioned enough in my opinion. He scored 34 goals in the Premier League and broke the scoring record on the right wing. How has that gone unnoticed so much? Because, I said how brilliant Modric was, but I don't know. I would have put maybe third, fourth place out of these guys. Because Salah is talking about best individual player. Okay, and as an individual, he was so vital to Liverpool's success, and he did so much for himself. I can't believe he didn't, come maybe in that top two with those performances. What do you think about Salah and Mbappe?
Yeah, I agree. Mbappe probably is in the top 5 best players of the world. And like you say, no one's getting younger. You absolute philosophical genius. So yeah, Mbappe's definitely up there, and he's going to get his chance probably next year, because if he carries on and he wins something other than league and the domestic trophy, if he wins the Champions League with PSG, which they have the squad, no doubt about it, to win it. That was the big project for PSG when they were bought. The whole kind of project was go and dominate Europe, dominate European competitions, and they have kind of failed to do that prolifically in the past few years. Obviously, bringing in Neymar helped, and certainly Mbappe, what was it, 150 or whatever, how many £1 million? It's a stupid, ridiculous amount for a player of that, so young, but by hell, it's going to be worth it because with player prices always increasing, they're going to sell him on for an incredible amount of money, and he is going to win the Ballon d'Or at some point. So I think he's just got to wait. He's young, he's patient, and I think for him at the minute, the Copper Trophy probably will do. But onto Mohamed Salah, he definitely should have been considered 100%. He almost single-handedly took Liverpool to the Champions League final. Unlucky to go off injured, and I think if he had actually stayed on the pitch, it would have been a lot tighter of a game. And so it's unfortunate that Salah went off, then he couldn't kind of perform in the world's biggest game other than the World Cup final. Like you say, it's about an individual player and their whole kind of year across the season. And Salah was absolutely incredible. People think he's doing average now, but I think they fail to forget how good that average is. And, he's very much continuing what he was doing last season. Maybe he's taking a little bit of a backseat, but at the end of the day, he was fresh back onto the Premier League scene last season with a new ability to his game that we hadn't seen at Chelsea. So that was brilliant. So yeah, I think 100% he was missed out, and he should have been considered a lot more. We saw Africa voting for Karim Benzema. Central African Republic voting for Benzema as the best player of the world. All of their votes were given to Benzema. I think Kyrgyzstan voted for Courtois. You do question if, some people actually watch football, because Mohamed Salah, Griezmann is more acceptable than Karim Benzema. He shouldn't even be up there competing with Modric, Mbappe, Ronaldo or Messi. So, there are some very ridiculous decisions. The fact he wasn't considered, I think, is a disgrace to him, and he's very, very unlucky. But we move on at the end of the day. He'll have to try again next year. He's going to have to, he realises that he's going to have to continue to have a great season with Liverpool. Anything to add to that?
Who do you think is going to win it next year? Because obviously anything can happen in the space of 1 year. But if you just look at overall the way things go right now and the form we've seen some of the world's best at, who do you think is going to win it next time? Just as a shout.
That's going to be tough, because Mbappe could easily carry on his incredible form, and if they win the Champions League, then they have, he has a hell of a chance after winning the World Cup and then the Champions League in a few months. He's going, in the space of a year, is going to be incredible for him. And what a journey from a teenage wonder kid at Monaco to top of the world with a World Cup medal. So you could easily say Griezmann, but at the end of the day, Modric has almost come out of the shadows, and he's kind of, we always know Modric has been good, but we've never kind of considered him that good. And I think the World Cup was massive in him actually, being considered for the Ballon d'Or. Ronaldo is doing very well at Juventus, so maybe he could pull back. Messi, maybe this is his one big last chance to win one Ballon d'Or before he eventually goes downhill and has to kind of step back from the wide role he kind of plays and very kind of drop back into the middle and kind of be like a deep line playmaker, because at the end of the day, the quality he's got isn't going to decline. It's just going to be more physical attributes and his kind of speed. So before that kind of all declines, which, I'm sure he's going to sustain very, much of it, but he's wary himself that he's not going to go like he's forever. So maybe he's going to have one last shot of it, and he's having an incredible season so far. So he should definitely be considered. But maybe we are going to see someone like Eden Hazard have it. Eden Hazard set up, Aguero's been consistent in the Premier League for years. He's never kind of really been considered. Harry Kane could win it. A good shout would be Harry Kane, because he's consistent top goal scorer in the Premier League. Considered the hardest Premier League in the world by many countries. Going back on my first point and the first player I mentioned, I think it is going to be Mbappe at the end of the day. I think it's got to be Mbappe, and we wish him the very best, Do you agree with me with Mbappe?
I'd love it to be Mbappe. I love Mbappe. And I'm happy you said Harry Kane there, slitting in an Englishman right there. For Harry Kane to win it, I wonder if he'd have to go to Real Madrid. Hurts me to say, but I think he might have to go to Real Madrid. Because obviously becoming the world's best player at Tottenham would be incredibly difficult. It'd be amazing if he did it though, wouldn't it? But at Real Madrid, if he got something crazy like 50 goals over in all competitions, and playing well for his national team, you never know. But overall, yeah, Mbappe, he's definitely favourite for me. Maybe Messi will do one final push, but I'm going to have to go with Kylian Mbappe.
Okay, that is the end of the Ballon d'Or discussion, and on to the final topic we're going to discuss this week, and that is previews of this week's Premier League games. So there are 8 games on Saturday, 1 game on Sunday, and 1 game on Monday, and we'll kick things off with Bournemouth-Liverpool. Mentioned it a little bit earlier, and how this is a big chance for Liverpool to win at Bournemouth and hope that Manchester City slip up at Stamford Bridge. Bournemouth, they're in good form. They've dropped off a little bit. They haven't kind of kept up that winning streak, but we always knew that was going to happen. But Eddie Howe is still doing a brilliant job. They're still winning games. I'm going to go for a close one. And Bournemouth showed how well they can play up against big teams when they played Manchester United, with them having only just scraping a win with Marcus Rashford with a last-minute winner. So I'm going to go for a close game, but 2-1 Liverpool in the end.
Yeah, and I think Bournemouth have actually been really unlucky, because it's not like their actual style of play has gone downhill or anything. It's just bad luck, and they've had some really tough fixtures, obviously, against Man City. Yeah, I don't think my prediction went down very well. But Liverpool, we know their quality. We know how deadly they are at front, how resolute they are at the back. I know they're away, but I'm going to have to go for them to win, so I'll say Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 3.
Okay, fair enough. Arsenal coming to this game off a good win against Arsenal and a draw against Manchester United in the week, which is a good draw away from home for them. Fair enough. They're against Huddersfield. David Wagner, I don't think he's got a chance in this one. Arsenal 3, Huddersfield 0 for me.
So, Arsenal obviously beat Tottenham. They got the draw, which they should maybe feel a little bit disappointed against, seeing as Man United have been pretty weak this season, and coming off the back of that massive win for them, then maybe they should have done a bit better. All the same, you look at Huddersfield and they've started playing a lot better. Obviously, they've not won every single game, and yeah, they sometimes find it hard to get that consistent goal-scoring ability. But I think they're really going to give Arsenal a go. They need the points. They know it's tight at the bottom, and that fight is ongoing all season now. I think they're really going to dig in. Arsenal, after that Man United game, they might feel a little bit disheartened they didn't come away with a win. And I'm just going to go for it. Arsenal 1, Huddersfield 1.
Okay, David Wagner will do very well. Very happy to pick up points at the Emirates this season, especially under the great form Unai Emery's got Arsenal playing. Burnley-Brighton, not too much of an exciting game. Burnley down at the bottom of the table at the minute, haven't done very well at all this season, not reflecting the kind of the season, the form we saw last season. Sean Dyche, is he still the right man for the job? We will see. Time will tell. I'm going to go for a ball or draw, either 0-0 or 1-1. Probably 1-1, just to spice things up a bit. But yeah, Burnley 1, Brighton 1 for me.
I mean, every single week we say a game is going to be boring and it has tons of goals, doesn't it, John? But unfortunately, I think this will be the boring game. I really do. Burnley, they've been really weak this season. They've not really shown much quality. It feels like we're saying that a lot now. Maybe we should talk about Burnley and how they've been going downhill. It's the footballnatter@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with us. But the thing is Brighton have shown quality up front. We all know that there are players like Glenn Murray who can score the goals. So I'm just going to say a slight 1-0 win for Brighton away.
Okay, Cardiff, Southampton. Obviously, we talked a little bit about both of those teams. And I'm going to go for Wreck-It Ralph to get a great 2-1 win at the Cardiff City Stadium.
Wreck-It Ralph, it would be good for him to get a win on the road straight away. Obviously, the Tottenham game, as we said, came way too early. But this could be a good one, It could be a good start. It will just be about him testing his style of play against maybe a weaker opposition. So I'm going to agree with you, actually. I'm going to say 2-1 Southampton.
Next up is Manchester United, Fulham. An interesting game, really, because Manchester United, not in the best of form. Fulham, they've done all right. They've done good under, it's probably fair to say they've done poorly. They've done all right under Ranieri since he's come in. A win, a draw, and a loss, I believe. So Manchester United, we could talk for ages about how poor they've been. Mourinho saying this week that he's got, he's confident they're going to turn it around. He's confident in his players, even though he never seems to show it. If that's what he believes, let him believe it. But I'm going to say Fulham to pick up a vital point away at Old Trafford. Manchester United 2, Fulham 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ranieri has done quite well since he's come in. And something that we really need to remember, Jack, is that Mitrovic, he's a deadly striker on his day. But Ranieri's got him consistently playing well. He scored a few goals now, and I really rate his chances at pushing on and becoming a better striker. Man United, 2-2 against Arsenal, they might say that's a decent result considering form and everything, but I really don't think that they've got it together. I still think that if Mourinho's saying they have to turn it around, they're going to have to change something, because I don't have faith in the way that they play. However, Fulham, I think they're on the up, and I think that it's a good chance for them to win, so I'm going to say 1-0 to Fulham.
Okay, big shout there for a Fulham win at Old Trafford, but possible, very possible at the minute. West Ham, Palace. West Ham starting to pick up a good bit of form now. Palace, it seems like Zaha's been locked away in Roy Hodgson wardrobe, and he just doesn't seem to be performing on the pitch. So West Ham at home, they need to really establish their home form and really establish the Olympic Stadium as their own and a fortress. I'm going to go for West Ham 2, Palace 1.
So West Ham have been in decent form, and Crystal Palace have been struggling a little bit. So I don't know, maybe Crystal Palace need to come out and fight again. We saw them, they've given teams a good go when they have been struggling under Hodgson, and they do need a recovery. And I think that this is maybe a chance, but it could be also a boring one. I think both will give each other a good go, but it'll be a 0-0 stalemate.
Okay, Chelsea, Manchester City, biggest game of the season, arguably, apart from after Manchester United for City so far this season. It's going to be a tough trip away to Stamford Bridge. Did very well to win it last season with that Kevin De Bruyne screamer. Liverpool are going to hope City slip up. I'm going to say they're going to stay on top form. It's going to be Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1, tight. But at the end of the day, I think Guardiola knows how to produce big wins in big games, and they're going to take up the 3 points from London.
He certainly does know how to perform under pressure. Chelsea, they've been struggling a lot recently. I think that's to the surprise of many, because we weren't talking long ago about how we thought they were going to challenge for the title, but I think a lot of those hopes will be slowly deteriorating for the manager, for the players, and for the club. I think that they need to bounce back, but it's maybe not the best team to go against, to be honest. City are in great form. We all know that. We all know how brilliant they can be. Chelsea will try and regain, their brilliant form. If they can pull off a win, maybe that would put things in a balance. If Liverpool get their win, it would be really interesting to see what happens. But I'm going to say it's too much for Sarri to recover. 2-1 to Manchester City.
Okay, so us both predicting wins for Manchester City, and it'll be a big win as well. Leicester-Tottenham, it's the last game on Saturday. Leicester in good form, Tottenham in great form. A very good contest. Can Pochettino keep up this winning mentality he's got under Tottenham? Like you said, are they going to improve their style of football at the King Power? I think it's going to be two very good teams going against each other. Tottenham, have got a fight to stay in third this season. It's very tight up at the top in that top 5, top 6, with teams like Everton pushing for those places as well now. I think it's going to be Leicester 1, Tottenham 1, and I think that'll be seen as a very good result for Leicester.
Obviously, apart from that crucial Arsenal game, Tottenham have been in decent form. That's 4 wins out of 5, so that's still pretty good. Leicester, though, unbeaten in 7, I believe, and they're starting to find their form under Claude Puel. It's starting to go well. Obviously, there's been a little bit of unrest with players like Jamie Vardy, but overall, the team spirit is there. James Maddison is on form. They're performing well, and their style of play is so cohesive and brilliant. We know how good they are at the back, and going forward, they are lethal. It's going to be close. I almost put 2-1 to Leicester, but I think Tottenham will just about stay in it. 2-2.
On to the one game on Sunday, Newcastle Wolves. Big game. 2 recently promoted sides. Obviously, Newcastle a couple of years ago, Wolves just this season. Wolves coming off the back of a great win versus Chelsea. Newcastle, great form. Like we said, Rafa Benitez up for Manager of the Month after 3 wins in November. They've had a good start to December. I think Newcastle are going to pick up the points here. All 3 points, in fact. And I reckon it will be Newcastle 2, Wolves 1. Tight, But I think it's gonna be. We might maybe see a couple of scrappy goals. I don't think maybe the quality of the game is going to be brilliant because both teams are going to want to win so much that they're not going to really want to play flashy football. But we never know what either team's going to come and pull out of the bag. But I'm going to go for, like I said, Newcastle 2, Wolves 1.
So yeah, obviously Newcastle are in quite good form despite that 3-0 home loss. And a draw against Everton, who are chasing Europa League, was actually quite impressive, and they did play relatively well in that game. So I think they're really going to give Wolves a good go, because Wolves obviously bounced back incredibly against Chelsea with that 2-1. They'd been struggling for a while, but both teams, they're really going to be trying their best. I think that there'll be some good attacking displays, but maybe some strong defensive work. I'm going to go with a 1-1 for this game.
And the Monday night football game, Everton-Watford. Is it like a quick fire, shall we? Marco Silva, great form. Watford, decent form. Everton 2, Watford 2.
Everton, great form. Europa League, chasers. Watford, disappointing, inconsistent. 3-0 Everton.
Wow. Blown us out the water. We've done the predictions. We've talked about the Ballon d'Or, Southampton and Wreck-It Ralph. Player and Manager of the Month. Like we said, join the conversation with us. Email thefootballnatter@gmail.com if you've got any suggestions as to what you want us to talk about. Please email us.
So lonely.
Please, so lonely. Please email us. But yeah, if you have got a burning question to ask us, a burning topic for us to talk about, we will talk about anything to do with football, whether it's a player, a league, a club. Let us know. If you want to talk about the rise of Accrington Stanley, we will talk about the rise of Accrington Stanley. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let us know. And join us next week for episode 6 of the Football Natter. I want to thank Harry for joining me this week. I want to thank you for listening. I've been Jack. This has been the Football Natter.